The following program is brought to you with limited commercial interruption.
Today's broadcast is being simulcast in broken English.
I'm here to show the world. I'm here to show the world.
Welcome to the show that we're doing right now.
What the hell are we doing on this show?
Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Let's go.
What is this?
Giggity, 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 goo.
Who else but
The Q.
it's showtime?
Gentlemen, let's get down to business.
Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Yeah, I can dig it, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the QNow. You're listening to the best pop culture, current events, current affairs show east or west of that Mississippi River, hailing from the great city of St. Louis and worldwide at the QNow.com. I am your host, Mark Bland, joined today, as always, by my co-host, one Mr. Jason Kull.
Hello.
How are you, sir?
Fantastic.
Seems Lauren Boebert was not looking at the big picture and might have cost the Republicans. We'll discuss that a little bit later. We have round two of our Tournament of Pop Culture Best TV Character coming up, so that'll be exciting for you to tune into, everybody. Donald Trump is not happy with a group of people, and surprise, surprise, who it is, we will discuss. That is something else to talk about, too. But, Jason, you are back. You were on sabbatical.
Yes.
You said you praised the workings of Paxlovid.
Paxlovid, the vaccine, booster, science did its job.
Science did its job.
Still
well,
here.
No. You had the vaccine and the booster. You just still got it.
No, I still got it.
So that's the booster and the vaccine did not technically work in that regards. I'm not misstating it. I'm not saying it might have
avoid hospitalization and severe illness.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. There was benefits, is what we're saying.
Yeah, without that, I probably would have been. I tell you what, though, that day and a half before I got Paxlovid, or the day I got it, that was a rough go, man. Like,
that was a rough one.
If you're listening and you don't have a vaccine, or you do have a vaccine and you don't have a booster, I suggest getting it. Because
it was rough.
Man, I don't know what I would have done without a vaccine and gotten.
Do you think you would have put you in the hospital?
More than likely, yeah.
Really?
I mean, it was.
Were you wheezing and like hardness of breath, what about it was making you feel like you'd go down that road?
Just the body aches. The body aches are insane. They're just next level. Like, I've had the flu before. Everyone probably has. I've had bad colds. Next level body aches with COVID. It's just unreal. It literally felt like my arms and legs were broken.
Really?
Yeah, it was bad.
That is really odd. I don't get body aches typically with the different things that over the year. Like, even when I had COVID, I didn't have any body aches with it.
Man,
now, I've always maintained that my bout with COVID was a lot more docile than a lot of other people's because I had very few effects that came of it. Like, all I had was some light congestion, no hacking, no coughing, no loss of breath, or loss of taste and smell.
I didn't have that either.
I lost taste and smell, but then again, with the newer strains, they're saying that doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I probably was the sickest.
And you
of my house.
you actually had a double whammy.
I had strep right before.
Because you had strep before that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you came off of that and hit with that again.
The strep thing was weird. It was sort of like you have strep, but they weren't totally sure. And if I had it, it was like strep F or something like that. That was the first time I found out.
There's different levels of strep?
A to F. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So strep F is like the nothing one?
It's just one.
Strep A is like the one that'll
Strep A is the common one. It's the one
kill you.
Yeah, it's the one that's always around. So I took some antibiotics as well as the Paxlovid.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the nitty gritty, Jason, because we got a few things we need to do here on this show today. But first up, I guess Joe Biden was just following U.S. policy regarding Ukraine all along. Because the story goes, Republican efforts to impeach President Joe Biden suffered a blow after fresh evidence emerged showing that his bid to remove Ukrainian Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin in 2015 represented the U.S. government policy at the time. A professor in U.S. politics told Newsweek that unless opposing evidence was uncovered, the impeachment was likely to backfire on the Republican Party, a view supported by some other analysts as well as other political figures. Then Vice President Biden met with Petro Poroshenko, the Ukrainian president at the time, in December of 2015, after which he claimed he'd threatened to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid to Kiev unless Shokin was removed from his post, which he subsequently was. Some conservatives have suggested that Biden was attempting to protect Ukrainian energy company Burisma, the board of which his son Hunter Biden had joined in 2014 by moving against Shokin. However, a pre-meeting memo prepared for Biden by the State Department dated November 25th of 2015 made it clear that removing Shokin was the Obama administration's policy. The document called for Shokin's removal, claiming he was widely regarded as an obstacle to fighting corruption, if not a source of the problem itself. This document was published by John Solomon, and a conservative commentator who has argued Biden did call for Shokin's removal to advance his son's business activities on his Just the News website. So, that's where we're at. You guys were so focused on Hunter Biden because you couldn't get anything on Joe Biden, because you're just so focused on being enraged and needing to literally go after Joe Biden because you're mad that Trump got impeached for all the criminal activities that, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, after the election was over, after he had served his 4 years, that's when January 6th happens. Okay, at the end. And that is after the fact. So this is a man that was going to be willing to allow that stuff to happen, and he wanted to maintain control of the United States. How does that look? That looks like madness.
Now he wants
I've got 4 years of him not acting like this at all, and all of a sudden on this day, boom! It's like crazy over the topness. That's wild. And I mean that. It's not that we didn't see Trump had these crazy leanings.
No.
We all could see it. Everybody said that. They talked about the potential of him liking dictators too much. Saddling up to the side of Kim Jong-un, ill, like he liked his father a lot. Putin, like all these like dictators. And Putin will claim, I'm not a dictator.
Dictator. Loved him. Loved them, sang their praises.
Oh, he had made claims that Hitler was a great leader.
Right.
I mean, come on. But now you're coming to find out all this stuff that you guys are trying, like all that stuff he did do that he's still getting in trouble for. That's the reason we brought up Trump. You're trying to go after Hunter because you think of something that happened with his dad, and now you have documentation from the State Department, specifically from John Solomon himself, or not Solomon.
They never failed to self-own themselves.
My point being, it's always a self-own. Every admission is guilt.
Right.
I get that, but like now it's just you guys are blatantly just failing to realize there are just time-stamped and dated things that are going to kill your arguments. Things that you weren't even thinking about. Conversations that you didn't even know existed that people could pull from if they wanted to. Or situations like this where actual State Department memos are being sent out to the individuals, letting them all know this individual's a problem. This is our stance on this individual.
It's almost like they didn't know this stuff existed before. Like they didn't know that they talked about this in meetings during the Obama administration.
Well, no, here's how it goes, Jay. No. Let's do it how it really goes. Ben Shapiro gets on his show and goes, "You're not going to believe this, ladies and gentlemen. This piece of news that's coming to us from the Gateway Pundit right now, as we're speaking, he's saying that President Biden, when he was Vice President of the United States in 2009, he raped a 13-year-old boy live in the White House
while coaching for Penn State.
While hanging out with the coach of Penn State, who was in trouble at the time for child pedophilia." Now, this is coming from a trusted source. We're told from the source that told our source that we've got another source.
We just want the facts. We want to get to the facts.
We just want to get to the facts, guys. That's all we're trying to do here.
That, right?
Listen, we love bringing up things. Hey, listen, I can't help that Melania was a whore. I can't help. I mean, I'm just saying, guys. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And no, listen, I don't believe the Melania was what I just said.
No. Definitely.
I am trying to prove a point of the way that they go about the justifications and how they like to pontificate to you out there in radio land and in podcast land and in vlog land, because they all, listen, none of them are like me and Jason over here. We're on KYRO, 1280 AM KYRO. 102.5 WIBH.
Right.
That's right.
Over in Illinois.
We are on 2 stations. We are syndicated. But we're right here on these stations for these brands of radio. And we are putting this out as the product. And these are major companies. Fox News, is that a major company?
That is a major company.
How about CBS Radio?
Very major company.
Okay, how about NBC? Is that big?
That is also.
What if MSNBC said something? Do you think that would hold merit?
Right?
People would listen.
They have not paid $800 million.
This is what we're trying to say, ladies and gentlemen. Like, it's obvious now. Like, things are like blatantly obvious.
Right?
They are just getting thrown right in your face. And there are people that are on these major stations, and these people are not being picked up. These podcasts, these vlogs, nobody wants them. Nobody's going, oh my God, you've got 3 million people on your subscriber list of YouTube. Oh my God, what we need to do right now? It's us here at CBS Radio. We're going to syndicate you worldwide right now. We're going to pay you $20 million a year. Oh, you're turning it down? You don't need that right now in your life because somebody else was bringing you $20 million already? No.
That.
Nobody was bringing you $20 million already. You lied. This didn't happen. This was never going to happen. I'm trying to explain as a professional broadcaster who has been doing this, a talented man who understands politics like the back of his hand. That's why I talk it, ladies and gentlemen, on Fox News and CBS radio stations that do politics.
Well, and they're doing it for a limited audience. They know there's nothing to this. It's so pointless what they're doing because this isn't going to go anywhere.
I'll tell you what makes it all that much more weird. Whereas Mark and you hit the radio station and get a paycheck. These guys hit their basements, claim they're getting a paycheck, really have nothing to show for it because all we ever see is their basements or their like set up little area where they say they're doing their show from. And some of them try to like do it like a sound stage where they have like guests on and come like it's all this weird over there. And here's the funny thing, they have teams. Listen, guys, I'm on Fox News right now, CBS Radio right now, talking to you, influencing hundreds of thousands of people that could be listening to the radio shows in the stations and throughout the week that download and listen to the shows, who skip us in different areas because we're not just broadcasting to St. Louis in this area. We're also broadcasting to other cities and college towns.
That's true.
We're broadcasting on the internet to lots of fans who download the show every single week. We have a good show. It's a fun show. But we get paid to do it. This is what we do. This is what Jason does. This is what Mark does. Those guys are just in their basements. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you. Jason and me have definitely sat behind a microphone in basements before.
That is true.
And done shows for sure on a podcast, correct?
And
we weren't on the radio at the time, were we?
We were not.
And we were together, working together, right?
Most definitely were.
That's what I'm saying.
And we didn't make up the news. We reported on the news.
In fact, Jason started with me when I wasn't on the radio.
That's true.
Then we got on the radio.
Yes.
We were there for a little bit.
A little bit.
That went crazy. And we would ride over every night. Every week we'd ride over being like, whoa, this is kind of wild. But anyway, and then we were off the radio again for a while, and then we were back on the radio again.
That's true.
And we're currently on the radio, syndicated for your ears and listening pleasure. Everyone out there in St. Louis and the region, the Midwest area, we love you. But we also love you in the other parts of the country and the world that listen to us too. For a while there, this show, I was talking to somebody else about when we were syndicated to the entire continent of Africa through Cliff Central. We still, if I remember correctly, there are still shows available up on Cliff Central of the Q. when we were being broadcast by those guys. And we really appreciated Gareth Cliff and his group getting behind and supporting our show for the years that we were on their network.
You just weren't hateful enough to last.
Well, no, it was just a weird thing. And I don't want to get into details about it. Like, we don't have to. I talked about it at the time when it all went down. I discussed it pretty in depth on it. It's been talked about before, but at the same point, like, hey, listen, I never had a beef or an issue with any of them. I never brought anything to their table that was like something that was like egregious or over the top, something that like was odd or weird.
Yeah.
I just was explaining to them the way U.S. politics was working, and when I didn't get Trump right and they liked Trump, and my argument was he's a crook. Right. He's a criminal. He's a bad person.
This is not
and this is not the person. Listen, no one with a brain in the United States, and they didn't believe it. They really thought it was all BS. But then 2020 happened, and he got wiped by Biden, hardcore.
Yeah, he did.
Like he got the floor got
7 million votes.
He got mopped hard. 7 million votes. That's like 3 cities.
Right?
I could literally have 3 major cities in the top 50 of the United States, and they all voted for someone else completely. But my point being, that was the turn for them, man. As Trump won, it just became a problem. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a quick break here on the Q Now. When we come back, more with myself and Jason. We'll be back right after this.
Welcome back. Your dreams were your ticket out.
Welcome back to the show. Mark Bland, the Q Now. You're listening to us on KYRO WIBH. That's Jason Kull over there.
That is.
I am the other guy that I said earlier.
You are that other guy.
And, yeah, we were talking about the impeachment before we went to break with Joe Biden and how it's just falling apart left and right. And I could just see him, like, the Freedom Caucus furiously Googling, can we still impeach Obama? Can we still impeach Obama?
What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? We have to impeach somebody.
We have to do this.
Half
of them don't even know what it means.
But let's be honest. We're talking about the Joe Biden attempted impeachment by Kevin McCarthy while we're still on it. And how is it a house of cards that falls? If it's only one card with one card. If it's only built with one card, like that was your card.
With a made-up bribery scheme.
Right, that was your card. Your card was that, and it's now like, oh, here's memos from the time period that show, and dated at the time period, signed off at the time period, that show, hey, they talked about this guy being removed, and this is their stance, and this is what the United States government was going to do anyway at the time. Like, this wasn't it just happened to work out. It wasn't like that.
Well, these Republicans are going to bring unserious people in front of committees to take questions with serious Democrats. House Democrats are serious people. They're not. There's no Lauren Boebert in the Democratic side. There's no Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's no Paul Gosar. There's no Matt Gaetz on the Democrat side.
I think
these guys are going to look foolish.
I think it gets even deeper than this. And I know that this is going to sound almost nefarious, okay? Mm-hmm. But follow along with me, because in the end, it comes to this. It just doesn't matter. Let me explain. The narrative has been provided, Jay, to the GOP base that, of course, you can't prove it because the media and deep state are protecting him. But we all know he did it.
There you go.
Trump might have been dirty, but so is Biden. Yeah. So I'm now empowered to vote for the dirty guy who hates the same people I do. And that was the entire point of this undertaking. And you guys can voice clip that all you want and share it around the world if you want, because that's really what this comes down to.
That is
all of these baseless claims always come down to this when it comes to Trump. It literally is about emboldening the general platform stance so that everybody's lockstep with what direction we're going to be a bully, abrasive, a problem.
We're all going to hate the same people.
We're all going to hate. And if you hate the same people I do, we're in the same boat. And it's this constant, the enemy of my enemy is my friend aspect. And it's like, not all the... Listen, I know there are so many of you out there, we've talked about this, Jason, a million times on the show, that think, man, Mark, you must be a hardcore liberal. Nope. I'm actually pretty moderate. Yeah. Even though we talk like this,
it just
pretty
seems
moderate.
That way,
it just seems like that
so
because
crazy.
One side is so nuts.
Right?
And I pull from the other side all the time. Me and Jason talk about things that we disagree on. This leads into our next topic. And I feel like he sent everyone running for the proverbial political hills when he came out and blamed Jewish people and specifically liberal Jews for ruining his world. That's right. Donald J. Trump went on to his Truth Social and wrote, "Just a quick reminder for the liberal Jews who voted to destroy America and Israel because you believed false narratives," Trump posted on the Truth Social. During Rosh Hashanah and Jewish New Year and the start of the faith's high holy days. Let's hope you learn from your mistakes and make better choices moving forward. Happy New Year. That's what he said. So now he blamed
nothing wrong with that guy.
Liberal Jews.
Right? What does that mean?
For ruining his world. And it's...
Well, he's got something in common with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is very angry about Jews ruining Twitter.
I guess the next logical step from they didn't like black people
right?
is to, if you're going to take the dictator role on, you might as well incorporate other traits of the Nazi regime. I was gonna say,
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't think of another guy who blamed Jews for problems in his life. Darn it, you know that one guy? What was that one guy? He blamed Jews. What was that guy's name? I can't remember.
Hitler. His name was Adolf
That's
Hitler.
it.
And
He wrote a whole book about it.
He wrote books about it, and he was very outspoken. He was very public about it.
That is true.
And by the way, the same brazenness it takes to literally round a human being up, take him to a concentration camp, and kill them is the same amount of effect and effort that Donald Trump is putting into spinning this prejudiced narrative to his advantage. Like, he has every right to be this way. And he doesn't have every right to speak and be this way.
No.
He doesn't have the right to go around degrading whole cultures of people because he wants to be a bigot. By the way, the same guy who, when the judge tells him you have a gag order and you shouldn't say things about the lawyers, the judge, the this, the that, and then within an hour and a half of that leaving the courtroom, you're on Truth Social degrading the judge, degrading Jack Smith, degrading everyone, and doing exactly like that's the same type of brazenness as going to round things up because you're willing to ignore that which is obvious. And in this case, what's obvious is Donald Trump, and I brought it up a couple shows ago, Jason, we had this conversation between me and you. Would he try the dictator move? Like, he seems to be showing these Hitler-esque things. He's saying the liberal Jews now. He's talking about Jewish people. He's supporting and getting defended by other people who are using their influence, like an Elon Musk, against Jewish people. Specifically complaining, like you said, about Twitter and how the Jews are ruining it. That's where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. And they all want Donald Trump to be president, and they all like the conservative mindset, and they all want those type of people in control and power. And if you're one of those people who likes those type of people in control and power, like a Donald Trump, a Mike Pence, even if you go down to a Ted Cruz or a Greg Abbott, I don't care where you go on the list. If you like people of that ilk who like to rule like that and think the same thing, then you are part of the problem too. You are one of them.
For sure.
That's it. If you're going to be it, wear it proudly.
But Trump,
don't be afraid.
Trump's like a mercenary, though. He's not even a conservative.
Whereas Trump is willing, Jason, to be blatant about his dislike of Jewish people and specifically liberal Jews.
Liberal Jews, right?
Okay?
Get it straight, liberal Jews.
Well, for now, it's liberal Jews. Eventually, just drop the liberal.
It'll
it's
just be Jews.
It'll just be Jews.
You ungrateful Jews.
It will.
Didn't he say that about, like, something about Jews and Israel being ungrateful for something he did a while back.
Well, remember Charlottesville, there was good people on both sides.
Right? Guys with Nazi flags.
With Nazi flags.
All good people hang out with guys with Nazi flags.
Obviously, the guys with Nazi flags, they don't like the Jews.
No. About as much as he does.
But I feel like it gets worse, though, Jay. It gets worse because Trump also sat down with Meet the Press this past week for an interview and was grilled by Kristen Welker regarding January 6th. In the interview, Trump alluded to and stated that the decision to claim the election fraudulent was his decision, without basis for the claim. Welker explains to Trump that his statement will be used in a court of law to potentially prosecute him, and he basically said he didn't care.
Of course he does.
He is begging for anyone to hold him accountable, like he thinks it will lead to blood in the streets, but it won't. And I want you all to hear me out. Trump literally said that it was his decision to claim that the election was fraudulent. That goes in the... Listen, here's MAG all day long, right? MAG all day long. It's a witch hunt. He didn't know. What are you guys talking about? They're making this all up. Donald Trump, live to Kristen Welker on Meet the Press. It was my decision. I completely created the fraud idea here. Specifically, it was my idea. It was. I don't want other guys like Giuliani and them taking any credit. If they're getting credit, because I see you guys writing notes in your little.
I want the credit.
I want some credit too. Like I like credit. I like credit over here.
He does like credit.
Yeah, I want credit. I want credit too. So if there was fraud, I created the fraud. There's nobody's fraud who's better. Listen. A lot of people out there talk about the frauds.
Nobody commits crimes like I do.
A lot of people talk about the frauds. They talk about the frauds. Nobody does the fraud like I do the fraud. I do the fraud. I do the fraud good. And then, literally, you can just hear all of MAGA, don't, the minute he says it. You can just gasp. You can hear them gasp.
I think you're right when he thinks, if he gets convicted, there's going to be blood in the streets. I don't think so, because the last two arraignments he had, no one even showed up.
I think that he thinks that once there's a certain line crossed,
they might be.
And what Trump is trying to do every step of the way is create the next line that needs to be crossed.
That's true.
So if they say don't do this over here, obviously if I do this. This is the line that they're already telling me that this is the line not to cross. That's definitely the line I need to cross. And it's no, that's not what they said. They said just don't do these things. It's not in good taste or form, and it's going to end up hurting you in the long run. By the way, here I am on a show to hundreds of thousands of people that listened every single week to us.
And some are Trump supporters.
And some are Trump supporters, hardcore Trump supporters.
We've heard from them.
We're literally telling you on the show right here, don't do these things over here. That's stupid. It's going to get you in trouble. Then what does he do? He just does those things. We came on this show, if you remember. Do you remember back when all this was popping off? And I basically said that it was a crime syndicate. Everything is just a crime syndicate. And it is a convoluted, created, propped up piece of garbage.
Like dumb mafia.
To pull from at all times. And by setting the people up, like I said earlier, right? Explaining it to him in that regard, he's my enemy and my enemy is I, and so we're friends, and then this is the reason I don't like the guy because that guy had to have done it too, and you're not going to change my... all of this round talk speak, this is why they're stuck in those basements. They're on those podcasts. Why they're not winning their re-election campaigns for president of the United States, why they are flailing in the wind, why they have to destroy everything that they liked and was working well for them. And we can talk about Elon Musk later.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I love talking trash on him. But now I have, like I said, Donald Trump specifically drawing lines in the sand every chance he gets. And he doesn't care. He's being outlandish with his dislike and prejudice towards cultures and people. guys, this is lining up too much like the last time we saw a person like this in history, which was Adolf Hitler. This just, in a weird way, is starting, and I'm not going for the Hitler argument. I literally have tried to even, just a second ago, I explained that we try to help him out. We try to tell him the things you should do. Yeah. You guys can literally listen to the show and share it with other people and get the word out that don't do these things.
You know why they get mad? But
it's not, they get mad because they get caught.
Well, they get mad because they try to make something stick and it has no value, it has no validity to it. Because just, what was it, like 2 days ago or earlier this week, they had the one lady who came out in the court filing that he told her when she was going to talk to the FBI to tell them she knows nothing about the boxes. And he made notes on classified documents for her.
Oh, sure.
What to say about it.
Of course.
That's real evidence. They don't have that, and it bothers them.
Well, and here's the problem. Then it becomes an official court of law thing where they don't have control or the ability to stop it.
And they hate
so
it.
now, whatever comes out, which is legitimate documentation most of the time, that they literally put up on a projector the size of the wall here in the studio.
And look at this.
Look at this. Here is literally a picture of you with your thumb up pointing at the documents. There's the box sitting right here on this table. 89G13.
Right? I mean, it's almost like they hear that, like, oh my gosh, they have a lady who has testified that Trump told her to lie, so they have to go and then make up evidence for Biden because they don't have any real evidence, so they make up evidence too. We've got evidence. Here, it's this, and it's made up.
The word Burisma sounds authentic and international, so run with that. It's like,
made up.
Why does the word Burisma, like, you guys are really hooked on the Burisma? Like, none of this stuff matters. Like,
I'm trying to get it a kit. Like
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here on the QNow. When we come back, more with myself and this gentleman over here. We'll be back on this beautiful Saturday right after this. Welcome back to the show. Mark Blanche's call over there. We are having a blast on the QNow today, and we are glad. We are glad that you guys, hey, they could be grads. Maybe they're going to be graduating a little late, right? You know, the beginning of the school year. Maybe that's a little early. I'm not exactly sure at this point. We are back to talk to you guys. Listen, we could talk about Trump all day long. We really could. We really could talk about Trump all day.
To you people.
We got a lot of Trump, I know, coming up over the next
He'll be around.
8 to 10 months. Solid. Ladies and gentlemen, guys, I'm dead serious. Once we get past Halloween, it is literally a year away from the election, which means the next year, that means the next 12 months, starting in November, are going to be just nothing but constant politics. Every news station, every time you turn, as if it already isn't, with Trump in the news constantly. And all these mental cases, which, by the way, let's talk about one of these mental cases. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Lauren Boebert. Lauren Boebert.
I'll tell you what, she's a lot of fun to take to the theater, though.
Barely won her position in the 2022 election.
Like 500 votes or something, wasn't it?
By winning less than 1,000 votes. They cut it pretty close.
Yeah.
It is said that the blemish she put on Denver and Colorado at the Beetlejuice show might have finally cost you her position in Congress on the next go-round.
Oh, for sure.
But it may prove even worse than everyone thought, because it seems if Congress loses Boebert and it switches to her opponent, that would revert control back to the Democrats.
Oh, yeah. They're definitely going to take the House back. I don't know what happens with the president.
Which is a huge win for the liberals walking in to a presidential election. We could get Biden and the House back.
Probably the Senate, depending on...
And maybe actually be able to move the country forward for a couple of years.
Right? Let's get some stuff done.
Like, get some stuff done. Not worry about impeaching this guy or that guy. Like, listen, guess what's not going to happen if the Democrats get control of the Senate or the House back? They're not going to try to impeach McCarthy. They're not going to try to impeach MTG. Right. They're not going to try to impeach Lauren Boebert. They're not going to try to worry about the brothers and third cousins of all these different players. Like, they're not going to do it. They're going to focus on getting some stuff done.
Yeah.
You know what we need? You know what we need? We need universal health care.
Right?
We need it.
Yes.
We need it. We are now years down the road from where the Obamacare was thrown into place.
Yeah.
And the
years.
only reason he stopped short is he couldn't get the Senate to rock with him.
No.
At the time, because they had control, to rock with him on the bill for anything short of just basically line iteming out better what people can and can't have with their health care, and then fixing some of the bad companies out there that were doing some bad stuff.
Yeah.
Outside of that, that's all Obamacare really ended up being. What we wanted was universal health care.
Sure. Yeah.
That's what needs to get done. And if we can take the next 2 years right off the bat from when this president, like, in fact, if I was Biden, I'd start working on universal health care now.
Yeah.
I would make it. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine Mark Bland, your host right here on the QNow, was the campaign manager for one Joseph R. Biden. Take a listen to my idea. Tell me what you think, Jay.
All right.
Because you're a liberal.
I am.
You'll either rock or not with it. Okay. How about, where was I at? I was talking about.
You're the campaign manager.
The campaign manager.
You're bringing the universal
Oh,
healthcare
yeah.
to the
Universal
state.
health care. So here's the deal. Start on it now. It becomes the story that you have your press secretary put out at the top of every single press briefing between now and the election of 2024. It is always, where are we at on universal health care? Moving forward. Talk about it for a minute. Oh, well, we're having some pushback from these senators or these people. Oh, these people are playing along with us. But make it about trying to get and now, during that time period that you're physically working on that, leading up into the election, even though it's your last year, don't care. Don't care. Don't care how hard Kevin McCarthy and them try to stop you. You make sure the Democrats are constantly pushing the bill, talking about the bill. If the Republicans don't even want to show up to to the meetings or anything for it, just don't even worry about it. Every day you go straight to the media and the influence that everybody's got, everybody's timelines of it, and you put out to them, universal health care is getting worked on right now under Joseph R. Biden. And if you reelect him, we'll continue this on. We'll win back the House. We'll win back the Senate. This will get passed, and when it's all said and done, instead of costing you $1,000 a month for you and your family, you're going to save that many thousands of dollars a year.
Yeah.
Every single year on your health care costs.
Sound good to everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, no, hear me out though. Dead serious, Jay. It probably costs you or your wife. We're not going to get into the bit because I got me and my wife too. Whatever. Every bit of $750 to $1,000 per month.
Probably.
To have health insurance.
Probably. If you count
for
everything.
the family, for all the members of the family.
Yeah.
Okay. That includes dental. Okay. Also, medications every month. If you got a son or a daughter who has certain ailments or issues and they have to take certain medications, or you have to, or whatever.
It's all
that. Before you know it, you've now saved $20,000 in money overall per year, per household, that they will be able to take, put into their bank accounts, and spend on vacations. Going to Cardinals games, buying your groceries, your local produce, your this, your that. That's more money per family going back into the economy for these businesses so that they can make their money. And we still have the good doctors. We still have everybody getting paid. And it might cost us a little bit of money. Your taxes, we might have a little bit of tax.
Hey.
A little bit of tax. I didn't say
Can't be more than you'll save.
80% more than you spend currently. No, I didn't say that. I said a little bit more tax.
80%.
But when it was all said and done, you'll be a lot happier. And the money you save overall throughout the entire year, the money that you pay in the tax will be less than the $20,000 you save overall for everything that it costs.
They make it work.
And
in
that's
Canada.
assuming you don't get into a position of cancer or something that could really F your life up.
That could bankrupt you.
That could bankrupt you.
Yeah.
This is only going to help all of you, as well as our baby boomer parents and everyone else.
But you ever heard someone went into the hospital for a week and a half and then had to have a major surgery after that and then was in there for another week? It's like hundreds of thousands
Jason, I
of dollars.
digress.
Yeah.
What do you think about my campaign strategy?
I think it's a good strategy. And
I
it's
feel
not
like
something
that
that's crazy.
It doesn't attack your opponent.
No,
it keeps the focus on 100% doing the work and getting the work done, which is something people are sick of not seeing from Congress and from you people. And when I say you people, I mean congressional people currently. Yeah. You people.
You people. The worst.
Right now, those, but it's just nuts. It's nuts.
It is.
And we literally love to shoot ourselves in the foot. We don't need to. We could still be the ultimate superpower and the greatest country on this earth. Yeah. Now, I know. Coming with universal health care goes, you're giving it to all these illegals. You're giving it to all of these illegals.
Well, they were already getting it, so come on.
Remember, you said they were already getting it for free from the government anyway.
Yeah, you're not.
Now you're mad that the person who pays taxes is getting it. You're actually kind of a piece of didn't say the word.
Yeah.
Didn't say the word.
But they are. Yeah, we know what you are. You
Because that's crazy. And it's because of people like the Boberts.
All right.
Which is where this started. You're over here jerking guys off in the middle of a Beetlejuice performance at a theater in Colorado. And all it did was cost you your career and the Democrats or the Republicans their house.
Yeah.
Their entire house because you lost. What if everybody but Boebert wins their seats? Do you know how much of a glaring thumbprint that will put on her? And none of them have come and stated against her that she's a loser or an idiot except for MTG.
You know, you want to know, here's something.
And that's only because they got petty girl bickering going on right now.
To make that even worse, what she did, apparently that was like a first date. It was someone that she's known, but it was a first date. Like, he was straight up rubbing her boobs. Like, he's rubbing them, like,
so let me get
left
this straight.
to right.
So Jason, if I could set up my point of view on what I'm seeing here based off what you just said. He was a Democrat that owned a bar.
Yeah.
That would hold drag shows.
That would hold drag shows.
And he was able to easily get into and infiltrate the mind of Lauren Boebert, the ultra anti-LGBTQ, anti-this Democrat,
right?
all that, like. And then also, she's so easy as a person that he was able to just completely defile and feel her up.
And she just put her hand right in his crotch with little to no effort.
And she's a Republican woman, right?
She is.
She's a female who also votes Republican, and a lot of Republicans love to talk about Lauren Boebert and share her stuff, right?
And she's a separated mother. Like, she's still married. Her and that husband haven't gotten a divorce.
Which Republican isn't married and having affairs? Like, seriously, it's nuts. How bad?
Vaping?
And glaring all vaping. There has to listen.
You know, it's Colorado. I wonder if that was a
I'm gonna be honest
nicotine vape or if
no,
that was a weed vape.
Listen to me. It was probably just a straight non-vape. It was probably I don't smoke anymore vape. Now,
that could be.
With that being stated, what's great about that? Nobody likes vapors. Okay, like people who the big stupid batteries with the big like the dumb
big giant ones,
the over the top ones. I'm not talking about something as small as this.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones that are like literally like 3 packs of cigarettes.
I mean, whatever she had enough to wear. I mean, that was a
sizable cloud.
It was.
And my point being, there's got to be a vaping national champion that lives within her district. There has to be. That's the only way.
That was some really good vaping. That was some top-notch vaping there, Lauren.
Some great vaping you were doing while you were jerking on his meat. You're such a great person, Lauren
Sitting
Boebert.
Congresswoman. Just grabbing a dude's junk.
Okay,
in the middle of
by the way,
theater.
How about Mark Bland on the QNow goes this far? It's that sitting Republican Congresswoman.
Right.
We haven't gotten to the other ones and what they might be doing, all easy on their dates or married or whatever.
You know, I always thought the Alanis Morissette song "You Ought to Know" was crazy because who would ever do that in a theater? Well, now we know. Because she might have. If that was an empty theater and they were towards the back and it was a re-showing of Beetlejuice the movie, she's definitely.
I will tell you this. The one bonus that could come from all this, ladies and gentlemen, is if Lauren Boebert loses her seat, Well, she's going to be less popular, which means we're going to see a lot less of the things she say and do all the time
That'd be nice.
on social media. Like, we'll just see less of it. It won't exist because they will have moved on from the former flavor of the month.
You'd hope so.
Well, that's the problem with Trump. I feel like Trump was like New Coke, but they liked it. And they were there were people out there that drove. There were bars that bought Tab because it was the only diet soda that existed at the time prior to Diet Pepsi and Coke making a diet version. A lot of people a lot of younger people in this country, Jason, don't realize that Tab soda, it was called Tab, T-A-B, was the only diet soda that existed in the United States when I was 6 years old. There was no Diet Coke, there was no Diet Pepsi, it was just Tab. And so like every bar served Tab. Well, the only time you would get Tab is if you were trying to get mixed drinks that were like with a diet soda.
Yeah.
That's the only place. Nobody sold Tab all that much. You could get it if you needed to get it in a case form, but like for the most part, the only places that ever had Tab were bars.
Yeah,
bars that were pouring mixed drinks instead of a Jack and Coke. You had a little bit lighter version in Tab.
Yeah.
Tab is what like she is.
She's the Tab of politicians.
She's the Tab of like she'll become Tab. Like she'll just be like unknown and it'll be behind the scenes and
she's nuts.
Oh man,
it's not even worth it. Let's
all right.
move on.
So here's what I want to do, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for us to get to our tournament of pop culture for best
Bring it on.
TV
I love
characters.
TV. Who doesn't love TV characters?
I will say this. If you haven't listened to last week's show, you need to go back and listen to it. There was a major blow dealt. I will explain off the air to Jason what the major blow dealt was, since he was not here on the show.
I was not. I was recuperating.
He was recuperating. So, once we do that, we're going to get into this one. I have a feeling that this one, ladies and gentlemen, like the last one, there could be people that don't get through that you would think was a shoo-in, like a legit shoo-in. And remember, this was one of our big ones. This is week 2. So we got 2 more weeks of Sweet 16 tournaments, and then we're down to our final 4.
Ooh, that's the best time.
On the QNow, right after this.
I'm seeing red. Don't think you'll have to see my face again. Don't have much time for sympathy, 'cause it never happened to me. You're feeling blue now. I think you bit up.
Hola, mi amigos. Welcome back to KYRO and WIBH, as well as all over the world at theqnow.com. This is the Q Now. My name is Mark Bland. That is Jason Kull.
Hello.
And Jason.
Yes.
Are you excited?
I'm super excited.
Because it is now time for our Tournament of Pop Culture Best TV Characters.
Bring on the
we
characters.
Are into bracket number 2. Bracket number 2 has some heavy hitters.
All right.
We've got at least one icon I see for sure. But as we learned with bracket number 1, sometimes icon status holds, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. We'll see what happens here. Now, Jay, you were out. You were not here for the last one. Usually you kind of play along with every bracket. You're a part of our voting team as a co-host. So, this has got some decent ones on it. I see a little bit of everything, and there's even a new player on here that I feel like, depending on the individuals. Now, we got our coin.
There it is. I see it.
The coin has heads and tails on it. We can flip that at will to decide who wins if we get into a tie-break situation.
And we will.
Which, by the way, before we go any further, since we are talking technically like a sporting event here with the Tournament of Pop Culture, those St. Louis Cardinals, this was they had the gall to put out a graphic, I think, that said eliminated from the playoffs or whatever for 2023. It was, and I'm not sure if it was them or somebody closely related to the organization.
Made a lot of people angry.
And I'm like sitting there going, why would you guys do that? There's no need to put it. Nobody cares that you are eliminated from the playoffs because there's no value in that. Yeah, people want to move past that.
They want to get back. They want 2024 to start tomorrow.
They want life to be normal is what they want. All right. So, with this all being stated, let's start our second round of the Tournament of Pop Culture. Best television character of all time. And we have a 1-in-16 matchup to start off the game. Mm-hmm. All right? We've got Cosmo Kramer.
Wow.
From Seinfeld.
Right off the bat.
Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld. Legend. That's an icon.
That is legendary.
That's an iconic.
Right.
That's a iconic figure.
Right.
No more or less than George Costanza is or was.
Yeah. Poor
or any of the other ones that are on the show. So like Seinfeld in itself has just like a grouping of characters that are just really well done. Cosmo Kramer is going to be going up against, and what was interesting about this is not our doing. We didn't create this bracket.
That is true.
But what's cool about this bracket is they're taking into account television sitcoms that are animated too.
Okay.
So you got Linda Belcher from Bob's Burgers, the mom from Bob's Burgers, is going up against Cosmo Kramer. I feel like this is an easy win for Cosmo Kramer. Like there's the Kenny Rogers Roasters episode where Kramer is being looked at by Newman and he thinks that he's like a large turkey being basted and he's like, hey, can you squirt this on me? Can you squirt this on me? Because he was trying to get a nice red, even glow to his body. Like there's just stuff like that with Cosmo that it's too indulged into our pop culture.
And you know what? Was there anything better than Kenny Rogers Roasters at the time when that was?
Sure. That's what I'm talking about.
Good food. That cornbread.
Now, here's the problem. St. Louis didn't have a Kenny Rogers Roaster, so it fell on deaf ears around here.
Wow.
Dude, we thought it was impressive that we had the Boston
Market.
Boston Market.
Yeah.
We were impressed that we had one Boston Market here that you could
I'm shocked that
try.
they didn't have one down here. Like I thought,
I loved Boston Market at its height, height of like what it was. Dude, you'd walk in, it was delicious food every time. It was kind of
like Kenny Rogers Roasters in a way.
Yeah, it was, but it was just like fresh. It was very fresh. It was very tasty. It was good food.
It was
it was almost like cafeteria. Like it almost felt like a cafeteria place.
Yeah, I didn't have that cafeteria vibe.
I got to go Kramer.
Yeah,
I think everybody's got to go Kramer on this one.
Kramer, you can make a case could be made that Kramer was Seinfeld.
It's very possible. Right? It's very possible. But as I stated, we did have George Costanza.
Yes.
In our last bracket. Did he win? Did he not win? I don't know, but I can tell you this. Well, I do know, but I can tell you this. If you go back and listen to that episode, you'll find out. You'll know too. So we have talked Seinfeld already on here. Perry Cox. Dr. Perry Cox from Scrubs.
Yes.
Played by John C. McGinley.
Yeah.
He's a great actor.
Yeah, it was a good character.
Versus Roger the Alien from American Dad. That's right. Roger the Alien.
Another animated guy.
And this is an 8-9 matchup, and I believe that this is like an 8-9 matchup.
It is like an 8-9 game, right?
John C. McGinley, good actor. He's been in a lot of different movies.
He's a very good actor, right?
Was he the one who was like the side associate or whatever in Billy Madison or whatever it was? Was it Billy Madison or not Billy? Or maybe it might have been Billy Madison. Billy Madison or what's the other one? Happy Gilmore.
He is in. Was he in that?
I can't remember now off the top of my head. All I know is Perry Cox is a great actor.
He's the cop in Wild Dogs.
Yeah, he is the cop in Wild Dogs.
That's pretty good.
And he's a very good actor.
He is.
He's a good actor. Roger the Alien, a unique vibe. I kind of dig on Roger the Alien. I see where
hilarious.
I feel like the guy is he does have an edge to him, kind of like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
He's kind of got an edge to him, and I like that about Roger the Alien. Is he better than Perry Cox from Scrubs? I like Scrubs more than American Dad. I know that. Like, I vibed more with Scrubs, watched it when it came out on a week-to-week basis, way more than American Dad. But that being said, I'm not a huge animated guy. Yeah. So, like, there's only some that really kind of like, it was odd. To this day, it's nostalgia, and I love it. So it's a part of my world now. But Aqua Team Hunger Force was a complete abomination compared to what I was typically used to letting into my world, and I allowed it into my world, and I loved every minute of it. But after in hindsight, looking back, I go, man, that is just not my stylings. Like, even The Simpsons weren't my stylings. I was more of a South Park guy.
Yeah.
So I just vibe a little differently. I think I got to go Perry Cox here from Scrubs.
I'm going Roger the Alien.
You're going to go Roger the Alien. All right, so we're going to go heads is Perry Cox.
Heads is Perry Cox.
Tails is Roger the Alien. You're going to flip it, Jason, and whatever it lands on, that's what it goes.
I dropped it.
What did it land on?
It's a heads.
It's a heads. That means it is Perry Cox from Scrubs. Moving on. And he will see a powerhouse in the second round. Moving on this tournament of pop culture, ladies and gentlemen. Best TV character ever. We have Lucy Ricardo from I Love Lucy. An icon. I mean, for 1950s and 60s television, if there was the female icons to put up on a Mount Rushmore,
she'd be one of them.
Lucy would be one of the icons.
She's the bigger one.
She would. Yeah. And that is played by
Lucy Arnaz. Or Lucille Ball.
Lucille Ball. Once again, she is going up against JD from Scrubs. Another great character, played by Zach Braff.
Yeah, it is. Now
T-Mobile
spokesman.
Wow, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough because... So, Jay, you know from being a Gen Xer like me...
That is true.
Growing up in the 70s and the 80s... Late-night TV kind of provided you throwbacks to the 50s and 60s Westerns.
You would see a lot of...
Twilight Zone.
A lot of 50s, 60s TV shows.
And I Love Lucy was quite often a part of the mix, right?
Sure, yeah.
You'd even get as far back as the Three Stooges quite often.
Oh, yeah, definitely got the
But Stooges. You got I Love Lucy. You got a little bit of a mix.
Yeah,
she was indelled into multiple... And you got to understand, in 70 and 80, she's alive, but she's not Lucy anymore, guys. So we're still 40 years past the last time she was playing this character on The Constant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, or 30 years past it at the time.
Yeah.
And it was still reverberating to where it needed to be on. And now in 2023, in hindsight, looking back, I still see I Love Lucy's on TV Land and every
when
other
they
places.
do shows about like TV or sitcoms,
TV history or sitcoms,
they still show the scene of her packing the chocolates and the things going too fast,
or the grapes.
It's just shoving them in her mouth.
Yep. Then they always do that. Yeah, because Lucy was that person.
Yeah.
She just was an icon, and it was across many genres and across many generations. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't a single generation. It was the parents of the boomers who were getting influenced. Like, they were in their 40s and 50s
at
the time.
First TV shows, right?
When TV, like, we're in our late 40s, early 50s.
Yes.
Yes. Right now is a unique time period to be alive because of the advent of moving forward with technology in the way that the internet and iPhones and phones, and like how we are AI now and how we are approaching new sections of the world and new horizons that we had never looked at. A TV was a big deal. Could you imagine? It's
and you did
1939, 1941, whatever, your family is able to finally get their hands on a TV set.
Right.
You've got TV shows like Lucille Ball, like let's say mid-50s, you know what I'm saying? Like Lucille Ball. And the family's coming home and they do get around the TV set because it is now 15 years into the world of television, having TV shows.
Well, us
and
as Gen
it's not
Xers,
Fibber, McGee, and Ollie anymore. It's...
But us as Gen Xers, we're the first group to have a TV in our bedroom.
Yeah, we are. We're the first group to have a TV in our bedroom. But also to just get beyond it. All right. I feel like this is Lucille Ball. I feel like this is Lucy Ricardo. I feel that she
wasn't
beats
even
JD.
A show
we didn't even really talk about JD from Scrubs. Great character.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good character. Is it as good as Perry Cox?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think so.
That character stands out because he's written different, whereas the JD character, he's just on the show and he's the guy, but his character's just a normal guy.
All right, our next two up. is Charlie Sheen from 2.5 Men playing Charlie Harper.
Okay.
And he will be going against a member of the staff of The Office.
Oh.
Dwight K. Schrute.
Oh, he can't match up with that.
Now, okay, ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Winning.
Charlie.
Winning.
Right.
Winning. Yeah, we remember. It was like...
Charlie Harper's basically like Sam Malone, but not in a bar. You know what I mean? Like a womanizer.
Winning. Like, he just kept zinging and winging. Like,
if Sam Malone went crazy.
What was that?
When he went nuts.
Charlie Sheen had such a weird movie career.
It.
He just had a weird movie career. It wasn't like your...
really rocking and rolling.
It wasn't like your typical... What's his first couple that were popular?
Well, Platoon and Wall Street.
Oh, yeah, Platoon and Wall Street.
Young Guns.
Yeah.
I mean, he started off just on fire.
Yeah, he was on fire, but he was part of that young crew with Emilio and all that.
He was the Brat Pack.
He was part of the Brat Pack, the side brother. He wasn't in it. He was the brother of.
Yeah, he was.
Because Emilio was in it.
Yeah, Emilio was part of it, yeah.
But Dwight Schrute...
That's classic.
It's just it's like for the 2000s television, whether you're talking about the guy who plays the Michael K. Scott role in the Ricky Gervais, who plays it in the English version of The Office, that character, or you're talking about this man right here. This is fudge. Now I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Rainn Wilson.
Rainn Wilson.
Yeah.
Rainn Wilson.
I mean,
Rainn Wilson, every bit is a comic genius.
Oh, yeah. He's basically the Kramer of The Office. I mean,
he is the Kramer of The Office. He's like, oh, dude. And the tricks they would play on him and his reaction, the Jell-O in his desk and everything.
He gets so serious
it was just so, then when he threw the cat for the fire escape, like, dude, Dwight is just on a different level. I'm going to go to Dwight Schrute, okay?
Yes.
All right. When we're moving forward...
The Fire Drill might be one of the funniest episodes of any television show ever.
Tobias Funk of Arrested Development, played by the mustache, the comedian
David Cross.
David Cross versus Danny Masterson's Stephen Hyde from That 70s Show. Now,
should he lose by default?
Well, now here's the problem.
Although it's a good character.
I do like both of these characters. I feel like Hyde was the penultimate version of a 70s character. They could have ever been made after the fact. That, like, literally, he is the embodiment.
And we're talking characters, not the people.
We're not talking the people. We're talking literally the character of Stephen Hyde from That 70s Show. It is played by Danny Masterson, as we
unfortunately. That's the way it goes.
Unfortunately. But that's going up against David Cross's Tobias Funk. Now, what's great about Tobias Funk is it's a unique character.
It is.
But I don't feel like it's the most standout or best character of Arrested Development.
No. I mean, he has funny moments in it, like when he thinks his wife's
cheating on him. I think Will Arnett's character stands out. Job is way more...
He's more cleverly written for him than what they have to for Tobias, and like you said, Hyde. That's a pretty standout character on that show. I mean,
that's true.
Other than Kelso, it's really the one with the most laughs.
All right, I'm going to go with Hyde.
I am going to. Unfortunately.
All right, Stephen Hyde moves on. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to take a quick break here on the Q. When we come back, more with our tournament of pop culture. We are starting this first round, knocking down a few more one-on-ones, and then we'll be kicking down to the next 8, and then 4, and then finally our final 2. We'll be back after this.
100 bill, no chain, iced up, 4 chain, nigga, no lane, straight gas, propane, bad bitch look like no name, Chinese food that low main, no lean, no cocaine.
Welcome back to the Q Now as we finish up our tournament of pop culture.
That is right, Jason. We are in the first round of this new bracket, second week bracket. We got 2 more weeks to go, and then we're down to our final 4 of the best TV characters of all time. That's where we stand. Next up, I feel like we've got an 80s icon, staple.
Right.
Let me back off that. Not an icon. I guess it depends. As far as character goes in 80s television sitcoms, he is there. Stephen Urkel.
Okay.
Urkel. That's right, Urkel.
You might find him annoying, but he's definitely iconic.
Now, he's going to be going up against the dad from Everybody Loves Raymond, Frank Barone.
Okay.
First off, the actor who plays Frank Barone. Do you know it off the top of your head? Do you have it on a phone in front of you? Could you look it up for me, sir?
It is...
the actor who plays Frank Barone. Just look up Frank Barone into your Google machines right there.
Also, Young Frankenstein.
He is the guy who plays Young Frankenstein. It's killing me that I'm forgetting his name. Because I should know it off the top of my head. It's just... He was also in Saturday...
Peter Boyle.
What?
Peter Boyle.
Peter Boyle. I definitely got to go Urkel here.
Yeah, I mean, I
feel like Urkel is in its own
iconic.
right.
He's more iconic.
It's more iconic, and I feel like Urkel is kind of like a staple of, like, if you were to, like, tell me, if I just asked to name, like, 3 or 4 TV shows from the 1980s. Or characters.
Yeah.
Urkel easily would have popped off.
Well, he has a catchfraise.
Like,
you have a catchphrase, you have to win.
Did I do that?
Right? He's got that.
All right, Urkel's moving on. I don't think that we need to discuss it much further than that.
Well, no, it's not. We don't
the next one is a little bit more difficult. Because, sir, are you a fan of the new television shows, such as a Ted Lasso?
I loved Ted Lasso.
You loved Ted Lasso, all of it.
Good.
All of it.
It's the happiest show on earth.
All of it, right?
Yes.
How much do you love Ted Lasso?
I like it enough.
Because I'm going to hit Ted Lasso with an 80s television icon and staple. And I don't know if he's going to survive, which is tough for me to believe because Jason Sudeikis does a fantastic job with Ted Lasso. The TV show is just as much the other characters on it, as it is Ted.
Yeah, it's definitely...
especially the blonde lady who works for the other blonde lady, but she's like the sub.
Oh, yeah.
The one dating the soccer player, the two soccer, Jamie, what's his name and all that.
Yeah.
Jamie Tartt's hilarious. Jamie Tartt's awesome.
Right?
That's a great character right there. But Ted himself is such a wholesome person.
He is.
A person who's broken from the past, who's recovered.
Yep.
And they show all those aspects within the character.
They do.
It's almost like the sugary goodness that they used to get when a Roseanne would like, or even a Boy Meets World would tackle, or like what was the TV show that was on Saturday mornings with Zach and Screech and all them?
Oh, Saved by the Bell.
Saved by the Bell would tackle a tough subject, tough subject episode,
pills.
and you would kind of be like, those are memorable episodes though,
true.
because there's always the weird thing that happens, and you're like, man, that's kind of crazy, so. That's kind of where you got Ted Lasso's got to go up against Norm Peterson. That's right, Norm from Cheers.
He can't. He can't beat Norm.
Can he beat Norm? I mean, we're talking about a man who iconized the idea of being one of the two dudes at the end of a bar, cracking wise on a Saturday, a Sunday, a Monday, a Tuesday. It didn't matter what day of the week it was. They were sitting at the bar cracking wise.
There's a catchphrase associated with him that he doesn't say, but it's just him walking into the bar.
That's
Everyone's,
right, Norm.
Norm.
Yep.
You don't get that with Ted Lasso, even though the
and
show
we love
was
Ted,
great.
but is Ted Lasso a better TV character than Norm Peterson?
He is not.
I don't know, because Norm was kind of part of that Yuck Yuck crew.
Yeah.
The Yuck Yuck crew is kind of like your dad and his friends. The Yuck Yuck crew sometimes does say cuss words. They do, eat all the circus peanuts up. Like, sometimes they are designing or discussing conspiracy theory out in the front patio or whatever. Like, yeah, these things do happen, so... I don't know, man.
Norm drove home.
See, that's another thing.
Like, did Norm live in the city, like in an apartment with his wife? Because otherwise, how's he getting to Cheers all the time?
That's a good question. I don't disagree with you that Norm wins here. I feel that Norm, but I feel like it's more of an eked it out. Like, I don't feel like it was just a whomping. Like, Norm just killed Ted Lasso.
I mean, if Ted Lasso came out in the 80s and was like 5 seasons and we all loved it, but Norm's just been
It doesn't matter when he come out.
Well,
If it's a good show, it's just a good show. So I feel like...
I mean, Ted Lasso's probably a better show.
But Ted is also a full-out character that the show's designed around.
That is true.
Whereas Norm's not the focus of the show.
He's not.
But Norm stood up. It's Norm. Yeah. It's Norm. And the only reason I say, I had to run it down in my head, does he stand out compared to the other characters? Does he need the other characters for his character to, benefit? Nobody. Topanga didn't need the two boys. I said Boy Meets World earlier. Yeah. Topanga didn't need the two guys to stand out. Yeah. She was fine on her own. But these two needed each other for their characters to benefit off of each other. Yes. Because without that good guy, bad guy, that two-way street to play with, the characters just weren't all that strong. Mr. Feeney stood out, but Mr. Feeney also required interactions over the back fence with the boys, trying to teach them life as the principal. These little things, almost kind of like Tim the Toolman Taylor had to have his conversations. Because without that neighbor kind of bringing him back to center, it was just I'm always going to go over the top. Yeah. Next one's going to be tough for one person in the competition. Because the other person in the competition is Homer Simpson. Ooh. So Homer Simpson is going up against Moira Rose, the patriarch of Schitt's Creek, the TV show. That's a popular show. It's really a good show. I always forget the name of the guy. He's a part of Best in Show and all those guys. Oh, Eugene Levy. Eugene Levy. Yeah. And his son is Josh, a very good actor too. Also stars in the show. In it as well. Everybody's in the show. And of course his stage wife, as we would consider Moira Rose. Up against Homer Simpson, though, that's Homer. It's Homer. That's Homer. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's Homer, 10 seasons. Homer is written to be.
Homer's got 34 seasons.
Okay. I don't care what anybody says. Dan Fielding, even though the shows come out at a similar time period in history, Dan Connor and Homer Simpson are the real life and animated versions of the TV father, the big guy. He's a little oafish at times, but he always means well. He's a good person, and that's kind of where Homer's
kind of looking to get ahead every now and then.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, while we're still here, no, we're going to run these down. Are you ready? You ready to run these down?
I'm ready to knock it out.
All right, so into the next round, Kramer has moved on from Seinfeld.
He is fantastic.
He is going to be meeting up against Perry Cox, John C. McGinley, from Scrubs. Once again, it's Cosmo Kramer. It has to be Kramer. The character's too strong. It was too well developed. It has to be Kramer.
Yeah, I mean, technically he's a side character like Dr. Cox, but he's not.
But he does it that's the funny thing about Seinfeld. I think that's what was great about Friends. That's what's great about Seinfeld. You didn't really even though you had ensemble casts with Wings, Cheers, shows like that, they did kind of tap into that every character that the show was around was a main character, and they all stood out on their own. Yeah. Whether it was Smelly Cat for Phoebe, or it was the haircut for Jennifer Aniston, or it was Joey Was Weird.
It's a good example because both of those shows, you could have one show centered around any one of those characters.
And Matthew Perry's character did try to do a show centered around him and Courtney Cox.
But or in between the show, you could have one that's just a Joey show.
That's right. And that's what Kramer is. Kramer could do it. Newman could do it. There was a few. Newman, that's the funny thing. Newman is one of those characters that could have his own show with its own unique set of weird characters, which lead to his weirdness.
Well, they did the one show with Newman and Kramer when they went to take the cans.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, they were basically in the whole show, just those two.
And that's it. And you're going to get that with a good ensemble cast. Right. Sometimes a couple guys can riff. They can really go.
Just take off.
Up next, I Love Lucy's Lucy Ricardo, Lucille Ball, up against Dwight Schrute from The Office. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you're dealing with two different things here. You are dealing with a television icon and the idea of a Johnny Carson.
That's true.
Lucille Ball. When you start to say the names of the biggest players, Roseanne, people who were up there, really well known, kind of like what we had with Hawkeye Pierce and MASH. You start to get to those characters that stood above the other characters, on Cheers. To me, it's Woody and it's Ted Danson's character.
Yeah.
They're the ones who stand out the most.
Well,
even though they gave a lot of lines to the Christy Alley or
Yeah.
what's her name. Even though they kind of spread it out on Night Court. It was a little tough, but there was weaker characters and stronger characters. It was more like Harry and Dan Fielding were funny, but then like Marky Post and like Bull and them were like kind of side pieces that kind of just benefited off of.
To bounce things off, yeah. The thing with Lucille Ball's character,
but Dwight Schrute's character could be its own solo thing.
It totally could. You could have
made
a show
where he becomes the Schrute Farm
you
show.
Could have made a show.
Easily
I'm surprised they didn't try.
I'm amazed that Netflix hasn't tapped him to ask him.
They totally could do that.
They could easily do
work.
that. And by the way, to film on location at a farm that's just there anyway from the
Same
earth,
setup.
you wouldn't even need any work. The overhead would be minimal at best.
It would work like a reality show.
But does Dwight Schrute's character outstep Lucy Arnaz?
To me,
Lucy Ricardo in this case?
He does a little bit because her character was written like the 50s woman who needed her husband.
But she was the icon of the 50s woman who always needed her husband. And that was a lot of moms who lived at that time period in history. That's just the way society looked at them. And Lucy was breaking ground. Like, if I was to argue on behalf of Lucy for one point at all here, it would be simply the fact that Lucy was the first real female to kind of be given the reins as more than just a funny yuck.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't just a side piece who happened to like she had power behind the scenes. She became a producer. She was one of the first that they actually let in on the boys' meetings. Like Lucy was an icon beyond that. And if it wasn't for I Love Lucy and Lucy Ricardo specifically, that character, I don't think she gets there. I don't think she's that character. And I feel like although he's a good actor, and Rainn Wilson in his own right is up there, he wasn't breaking down doors with the character behind the scenes.
Plenty other doors.
And I feel like Lucy was.
The one thing with Lucy, though, the difference between the 50s and then 80s and 90s is look at the difference the way the character was written for her as how Roseanne's character was written.
Oh, but that's Lucy because Roseanne, when she wrote her character, well, they both wrote their own characters technically, but when Roseanne wrote her character, this is who she wanted to be.
Yeah.
And Lucy had to write it from the perspective of what she had to be and what she was.
That's what I'm saying.
She had no choice.
She had to follow her husband's lead, and where Roseanne,
or else it was not going to work in the 1950s.
People would not deal with that.
They would not. It was not. It was a big deal. Listen, the first time they showed a black man and a white man on set together on a television show was a big deal, dude. When what's his name showed up with what's the Rat Pack. We were talking Brat Pack earlier, but the Rat Pack, the actual one, Sammy Davis Jr. Showed up on
stage with
Carol O'Connor on what's he play? Archie Bunker on Archie's Place or whatever, on
All the Family.
All in the Family, All in the Family. Fantastic show, great character. I'm sure he probably will show up at some point on one of these brackets.
Archie Bunker's got to be in there somewhere.
And but like that was a major deal even in the 70s when that happened. That a character like that would even interact with a black man. So I got to give it to Lucy. I do. What do you say?
Let's flip on it. I feel
go ahead.
strongly
if you
for both.
We're going to go to break flipping on it. You flip on it. We're going to give heads to Lucille Ball and Lucy Ricardo. Tails to Dwight Schrute.
Go to break on this
Do
one.
not catch it. Okay, just let it go next time. You're fine.
Heads.
It's heads.
He moves on.
Lucy is
lives another day.
moving on, which is not a bad matchup.
No, not at all. That's why I'm flipping.
We're going to take a quick break here on the QNow. When we come back, we're going to finish up with our Tournament of Pop Culture Best Television Character Round 2, Bracket Number 2. We'll be back on the show after this. bingo boingo, as our boy and rest in peace Brandon Travis would say, bringing us bingo bongo, something like that. He was all over the bing boing bongos. I love Brandon. I miss him dearly, and rest in peace.
That is true.
We are back here on KYRO WIBH, and we are in the middle of our Tournament of Pop Culture, round 2. Second bracket of the best TV character of all time. We are up to Stephen Hyde from That 70s Show taking on Urkel. Now,
yeah,
we have an actual 80s television icon dressed as the way they were in the 80s because it was the time period of the time. So we have an actual 80s one. We have a 70s pretend in the 90s, early 2000s, of a 70s set because it's called That 70s Show. And it's being filmed in, like I said, the early 2000s, the late 90s.
Yeah.
Better character. Urkel or Hyde? I think Hyde is the better developed character. I think on Urkel's point,
he's more appealing to watch.
But Urkel also tapped into the pop culture. See, whereas Hyde didn't, and this is where Urkel gets a little bump for himself, okay? And this is why I feel like in this situation, Urkel beats out Hyde.
I think so.
When you are trying to outpace somebody, the pop culture bump, like you step over the line of, there were people that never even watched Family Matters that were saying, did I do that? That were like using his catchphrase, that knew the name Urkel. Urkel like came off TV, offline, and became something that we would just talk about. No more than when Happy Gilmore came out and all the lines we would say from Happy Gilmore with Adam Sandler or any other character that kind of popped up and we followed along over the years. Frank the Tank, right? We're going streaking.
We're going them clubs, punk.
Exactly. I got to go Urkel.
I think so too, because without Urkel, Family Matters probably gets canceled after one season.
Okay, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
That is true. Like, I feel like the family dynamic, that literally everything was based off Urkel, other than the father who shows up in Die Hard, and we're kind of like, is that him literally at his job? Because on TV, he's a police officer, and now he's like at Nakatomi Plaza, and they live in California too. So did they live in Cleveland? I don't remember. I'm not sure.
I think it was Chicago.
Could have been Chicago. I'm not sure.
For some reason, I think he was a Chicago cop. I'll have to look that up.
We've got a heavyweight matchup here from the 80s.
That's right.
Homer Simpson.
Classic.
Versus Norm Peterson from Cheers.
Ooh, wow. Almost the same character.
And that's tough. That's a kick.
And Homer hung out in a bar a lot, too.
But I think...
And he loved beer.
But here's the thing. Norm influences Homer. Norm influences Homer. They would show him sitting in Moe's bar with his buddies playing the Norm, and they even probably alluded to the Norm a few times.
I'm sure he's walked in
the show, and he walked in, and everybody goes, Homer!
I bet that's happened.
I guarantee it's happened at some point, especially with Moe's being such a popular bar and stuff like that. So, like, I know that Norm influences Homer.
For sure.
Is Norm better character than Homer Simpson?
You know, it might be the instance of...
Because Homer can carry his own show. Homer...
That's what I'm saying, like,
once again, you got Lisa that can carry her own show, you got Marge, you got Homer. Now, the Marge and Homer show would be its own thing, but they could carry itself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they could do it.
It's kind of a situation where the influencer ends up not being as big as the people they influenced. You know, where Norm... is made, like, Homer's made because Norm exists, but then Homer just becomes this massive thing. Even though he's...
Well, it's just the better version. It's like, hey...
Right, there you go.
It's not like... you couldn't go Spikes first into first every time. Like, we just don't think you should. Like... You don't have to go as hard as you do, but thanks, Homer, for doing it anyway. I think Homer moves on there. So too. And I think that that's a good matchup. Now, we're down to our final four of this bracket.
A little bit.
We've got Kramer, Cosmo Kramer of Seinfeld fame. He is going up against Lucy Ricardo of I Love Lucy. Both shows, juggernauts. in the industry.
Huge.
It's arguable. It is literally arguable. If you walked up to any TV historian and said, name the 2 biggest shows in the history of television, they might go 1-2. They might go Seinfeld, Lucille, or they might go I Love Lucy, Seinfeld. Like, it's easy to go 1-2 right there with those two.
Yep.
That's not a joke. That's not even trying to be sort of funny. They're that huge. They were juggernaut shows. Literally, Seinfeld carried the entire last half of the 1990s.
I mean, they made NBC.
They made NBC Thursday night.
Thursday night must-see television.
It had to be. You had to see it. And it wasn't for that, Friends wouldn't get the bump of being on NBC TV.
Nah, Friends, Frasier, Cheers.
I Love Lucy, on the other hand, opened doors.
Definitely.
Allowed for comedians like Courtney Cox and them to get the opportunities to be who they were.
Showed network television executives that women can be funny.
Kramer or Lucy, though? I think this might be where the boy separates from the girls, and I feel like Kramer moves on. I feel like Kramer is a... I mean, it's not that I'm a Kramer person. I feel like Lucy, although she represents a time period within a few decades of history that are like encapsulated in her show perfectly.
Yes.
Outside of that, and she does it perfectly. She does it perfectly. Better than Kramer does Kramer. But the problem is Kramer rolls with the punches.
Yes.
It's not idealistic for the time period in itself. And so therefore I feel like Lucy's character is kind of stuck.
That's it.
Whereas Kramer's character gets to develop and blossom over time.
You mentioned it, time period. The thing about Lucille Ball and the I Love Lucy show is she was funny.
And it's dated now, too. Like, there's others that have come along since and done it better than Lucy. And Kramer is arguably one of those characters.
But she was funny at a time when what they thought was funny wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, you go back and watch that show,
right?
It's not really funny.
Well, not only that,
but back then it was.
But what it benefited from is that 1950s mean-spirited. Like, they would put the blackface on and do the funny episode. They would, the ching-chong sounds, and they would do all that, and they would try to make over-the-top affections to make it, like, super stereotyped and look it really bad. Like, but that's the time period. Like, that's, things turned around and changed by the time we get to Cosmo Kramer. Obviously not, but because he stepped on stage and didn't care. But I got to go Kramer.
I agree with you.
All right, Kramer moves into the finals of this bracket. He's either going to go up against Urkel or Homer Simpson. I feel this is destiny.
I think we're going to have
I think it's Homer versus Kramer.
I think so, too.
As much as I love Urkel, and he's got his spot, I just think his character is not as well written all the way around.
He just doesn't have the
Plus, Homer's got the entire cast of the show that's kind of well-rounded. He has also got the benefit of a lot of years to work that out, too. Yeah, so... Homer, I think, but that's also the proof in the pudding that he's that popular of a character, along with his family, that they can be still on 25 seasons later.
Yeah,
and everybody still cares. Like, people still watch.
Syndicated on every local channel.
Everywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to our final two. The Tournament of Pop Culture here on WIBH, KYRO, News Radio, KYRO.com.
Yes.
Every single Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. You can listen to us on our home station, KYRO. Cosmo Kramer versus Homer Simpson. Whoever wins from this bracket is going to be a powerhouse to contend with in the finale, I feel like. I'm not saying anything. We've got a lot of other characters to get to still, and 2 more brackets to break down before we're even close to that. But
I feel like a coin flip is going to decide this, because I don't know if I can decide between the two of them who I think. I mean, Homer's got the longevity, right? Was 89?
But Seinfeld's still in reruns.
Would have had 9. Yeah,
but Seinfeld's still in reruns, and if they brought back Seinfeld right now for like special 6-episode offs, people would like download the half-hour episodes like crazy and watch the hell out of them.
The season of Just Shoot, Not Just Shoot Me. What am I thinking of? What's the Larry David show?
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Curb Your Enthusiasm. They made a whole season about putting together a Seinfeld reunion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that was huge at the time. When Seinfeld made it to Netflix, that was huge. That was newsworthy.
Yada, 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 yada,
Right?
yada, yada. No, you're right. You're right. I feel like
but
Kramer... See, here's the problem. Whereas Homer is funny because we laugh at him.
Mm-hmm.
And we also laugh at Kramer. What's great about Kramer is the predicaments he gets himself caught within.
Yes.
Like, and how we apply as fans or people watching the show, how we apply ourselves to those, and watching how he gets stuck deeper in most cases. Like the famous looking for the car in the parking lot episode. And it's just like a whole episode done in a parking lot with no overhead. And I guarantee you the whole time Larry David was doing it, all he did was sit there and talk about how they had no overhead for that show that week. And he was loving it because everybody over at the office was getting praise from the television network for saving a ton of money. And it's like, yeah, I took my actors, I already pay this amount of money every week anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do anything. We just walked in a parking garage for like a few days and we were done.
And with Kramer, you get the aspect, you get the style aspect.
You do. You get the style of
those
the time.
T-shirts and the shirts he would wear.
It was very 90s.
People were looking for that.
That's also just who we were. That's like
you would go to Goodwill's looking for those.
And
shirts.
both Kramer and Homer have breached the pop cultural aspect
for sure.
Homer a little deeper. He's got video games.
Yep.
You know,
and a movie.
He's got the movies and stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
Merchandising was everywhere with the Simpsons.
And see, that's the problem. The Homer's a juggernaut.
And the show's called Simpsons, and the other show is called Seinfeld, so only one of them is a Simpson, and the other one isn't a Seinfeld. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, you're right.
He's a character
It's a side
Jerry
character.
Seinfeld's
And
show.
you know what? That would be painful to bump Cosmo Kramer here for Homer.
That's tough. Like,
it really would be. All right. Yeah, and I don't know. Either one of these going through. I think I'm going to pick Kramer. I think I'm going to pick Kramer. I'm going to go Cosmo Kramer.
I think I'm going to agree with you. As much as I love Homer,
I think that the character of Cosmo Kramer, we all know somebody like this,
right?
Everybody knows that there's the dad who likes to drink beer, who's a good dad, who takes care of him. Like, everybody knows that guy, but there's only one person in your life that ever, falls into these type of categories, and it's always that unique person. So Kramer is that unique to where it's like, okay, that would be heavily missed. Whereas if Homer goes away, okay, I don't get the typical suburban dad who's crass, who's a baseball fan. Like, your typical, your Dan Connors. I don't get that fine that happens.
And I'm way more likely to quote Seinfeld stuff than I am Simpsons stuff.
Oh, there's way more to quote for the Simpsons, though. Well, though he did have dough.
Yeah, I guess he did have that. But just scenes, like classic episodes.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I'm going Kramer.
I'm going to agree with you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Flip a coin, but
there it is. The winner of this week's bracket, moving into the final four.
That was a good one.
Is one Mr. Cosmo Kramer of Seinfeld fame. Seinfeld
one of those guys.
fame. And, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not really surprised too much by that one at all. Real quickly, before we get out of here on this show, and it's time for us to get out of here on this show, I wanted to, some people on the dating scene are looking for someone attractive. Others are looking for someone smart or funny who shares a major interest, and others will only date good spellers. Someone on social media recently started a topic about the weirdest dating requirements to have, and it went viral. Here are some of the highlights. They have to like frogs at least a little.
Okay.
They have to snore because snoring is so cute.
No.
No flip-flops on dudes. Okay, fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I can see.
No backward hat-wearing guys or girls.
100%.
You're down for these? Some of these are making sense, huh?
Yeah, I mean...
No picky eaters?
After a certain age...
No picky eaters?
On, right?
No picky eaters? I don't really care if the other person.
But
I don't care if the other person's picky or not. That doesn't bother me. Like, it's up to you to eat.
You just won't eat around me.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm not going to give you any food.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the Q Now. I want to first off thank Jason Kull for being here.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. We want to make sure you guys check us out every single week at theqnow.com. That's TheQNow.com. Old episodes, new episodes, everything in between. You can follow us on Apple Podcast or Stitcher or wherever you get your podcast. You can find us, share it, rate us, review us, go to Apple, let them know that we're great people and that you are learning about all of your good political beliefs from us.
And if you enjoy me being on the show, think Pfizer.
There it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us on this episode of the Q Now. We will see you guys next time on the show.